Hello YouTube, this is going to be a top-down approach technical analysis for Bitcoin. We're going to start with the weekly, then move to the daily, 4-hour, and then the hour chart, breaking it down little by little, getting more detail, getting more granular with our technical analysis. So without further ado, let's get started on the weekly. So there's really only one key zone that we're looking at right now, which is going to be around the zone right here, 76, 77-ish $100 zone. This is going to be our key level of resistance. Why is it a key level of resistance? Well, we see it was a key level of support right here. Another key level of support right here when we broke the 9.6K, and previous supports equal new resistances. So there's a good chance that we could see a level of resistance here. Also, just one thing I do want to touch on is that descending trend line connecting the lower highs. We see that all along here, and if we do see a break at this zone, we are expecting a touch on this line because trend lines not only repel the price, but they do attract the price to the zone as well. So if we do break this and if we see a close above the line here from the daily, I am going to assume that we are going to catch the move all the way up here. I don't know if we are going to pass just yet. We do still have some bearish sentiment to the downside. So if we do push up above here, I am going to be pretty cautious because in the case of a bounce and a consolidation towards the apex, we could see another fall closer to the 6K range. So that's somewhat of a chance that we could see, but for now we're just going to be looking at the smaller time frames and making the decisions from there. So let's move on from the weekly now to the daily. So at the daily, we saw the reverse head and shoulders right there. Very good scout and good entry on that. We did see a nice projection bounce. As if we zoom out a little bit here, we see the touch here, higher lows, and then we got that next touch right here, which was also the descending support for the descending trend line there, or descending channel, sorry, and then we got a triple confirmation as well as the horizontal support. So that was a very, very key zone for demand, which we identified, and then we entered right at that reverse head and shoulders, which we will get into in the hour and 4-hour chart. But for now, we're just going to talk about the daily a little bit more. So we do have a confluence zone right around here at the $7,800, $7,850-ish zone right here. We see that being used as a previous zone of support for this market structure before we dumped down and then had the massive pump. So this is going to be a zone of confluence for the sellers. So there's going to be some supply there. So I am expecting a little bit of a consolidation or some halting of the bulls. And that's why we did sell. When we go to the hour chart, I'll break down exactly what we did, but we did notice that there was a zone of confluence from the descending zone as well as the horizontal zone, giving us a clear indication of a potential zone of supply. So not much else to talk about other than if we do break to the upside, we do have a lot of room. I think it's about 10% from here to the next zone of supply, which is around 10%. That's a very, very solid move. So we will really want to be looking at this potential if we do actually break to the upside here. And you could even see a nice little pullback to validate the new support, but we don't exactly know right now, but we're just in it along. It's looking really good and we're going to hold on. And if we see something that could be a little bit dangerous for our long, we might change the plan, but for now it's looking really phenomenal. So let's move from daily now to the 4-hour chart. So this is that descending trend line. And I used a projection as well because there's wicks protruding out of the candles there, but the main trend line is connecting the bodies, as we can see. So right now, we are above both horizontal zones, and this is that reverse head and shoulders. We talked about it in the previous video, so if you don't know what that pattern is, check out the other video and you'll be able to understand this price action pattern. So after the break, we entered right around there. We held on top of the breakout zone. Really good chart here. I was expecting the price to bounce here. If it fell below the support, I would have closed out my trade, not a problem, but we got a break to the upside, making a new higher high. Really good for our long. Now we are right at that descending zone, so I did take some profits this morning, kind of up around here when this 4-hour candle closed, which I'm pretty happy about because there is a level of uncertainty because of this descending trend line. Now, if we pass this zone, like let's say, for example, we pass this zone and then we get a pullback to validate not only the descending zone but the horizontal zone, that will be a double confirmation of a support, and it's going to be a demand zone for us to potentially look to add to our position. But until that happens, we're going to patiently wait on the sidelines. We already have a trade in play and it's in our favor, so we're just going to patiently wait and really let the price kind of do its thing. And I do have some stop losses around here because I think if we do dump back below this 77-ish zone here, I think that would be a very key rejection of the descending zone, and we could see some more bearish action to the downside. So the main reason why I'm actually making this video is because BTC is in such a peculiar place. It's a very, very important zone right here because if we do break back down below this zone, I could see the price come all the way back even lower than here, around here, where we look back on the weekly. I could see another push even potentially back down to around the 57, 59, 6K, somewhere around there. So that's definitely a possibility that I'm looking at, and that's why this is such a key zone, because this area right here will determine if we're going to break up or down. So we're trying to inform you guys of the situation of BTC. So now let's look from the 4-hour now to the hour chart and discuss the entries, discuss more granular details of what the price action is doing. So this little circle here was our entry. We have very clear horizontal zones of support and resistance. So after this break of the 76.50-ish zone right here, we got a push now touching and really right in the projection zone of the descending trend line. And it's looking like it's actually a little bit more bullish. Just looking at the volume, clearly it has more buy volume than sell volume, indicating volume accumulation, which is more bullish. If it was the opposite, like we see here, it would be volume distribution, meaning that the coins are distributing among the market and there's not a lot of people holding it. So for our long, it's looking really good. And even in the recent price action, soon after the break of the reverse head and shoulders, we see a ton of buy volume, not much sell volume really on the way down. Really good to see. We get a next pump up with lots of buy volume, good to see. We get a fall with not much sell volume, good to see. And then we're getting our huge pumps. So just looking at the volume, it's very healthy. We are breaking resistances, holding supports in an uptrend, making higher highs and higher lows. So for me, it's looking really good to potentially break this zone. But like I said before, I did sell a little bit right here because I am a little bit cautious. I have a pretty solid win. I think it was around like 4.5 or 5%. Actually, let's just look right here. Yeah, 5.5%, which was a pretty solid trade, and I'm still in it. I only sold a portion of my profits here because if the price actually comes back down, I do want to have some profits captured here, and I do have my stop loss set just at the entry there, so I have no risk on the table with some long exposure if the price actually does break. So we're looking really phenomenal here at the Performante team, and let's say we do bounce off this zone and we get a solid rejection all the way back down to this zone. Well, what are we going to do? Well, let's look at it objectively. We have an ascending trend line that is still yet to be unconfirmed because I ideally like to see one more key touch on the hour chart or the 4-hour chart before we can use that as a valid trend line for us to risk off of. So potentially we have a zone of a double confirmation from the horizontal zone as well as the ascending zone. So if we do get a push down over here, what I'm looking to do is potentially, if we break down below here, we'd look for a potential retest before we enter for our short position. I know that this reverse head and shoulders has a lot of buyers in it, and if we do break this zone, there's going to be a lot of stop losses triggers, if not around this zone here. So I am expecting that if the price does come down, I am not going to change my trade right now, but I always like to know the possible ways that I could adapt my trade in order to fit the market structure if it does change. So I know this was a super quick video. I just wanted to break it down really quickly. It's not a very extensive video, but I just wanted to break down what I see in the charts right now. So I hope you guys liked this video. If you thought it was educational, if you thought it was informative, please subscribe. It does help us out a lot. If you're interested in joining a trading community, yes, we are mainly cryptocurrencies. I trade gold as well, but if you are interested in trading altogether, we talk about stocks, commodities, Forex, sort of, but mainly cryptocurrencies. We'd love to have you on. We are a very open-minded, friendly community that really like to incorporate new members into our ecosystem. So as always, I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I hope you have a great trading week next week. Have a good one.